So let's go back to April 20th, 1995. On that day, France gave its highest honor to two of history's greatest scientific minds, Marie and Pierre Curie. Now, their remains were moved to the Panthéon in Paris, but this event was so much more than just a state funeral. It was a powerful statement about science, a correction of history, and a story that actually began with a pretty unique radioactive mystery. Just try to picture the scene. You've got the massive columns of the Panthéon, France's national mausoleum, and they're draped in this enormous tricolor flag. This is a place that's reserved for the nation's absolute heroes. We're talking Voltaire, Victor Hugo, Alexander Dumas. The inscription on the front literally reads, "To the great men from a grateful nation." The whole atmosphere is one of just profound reverence, because on this day, this sacred space was about to make history. And this honor, it was truly for the ages. The ceremony wasn't just about celebrating the past. It was a very deliberate act, a conscious decision to help define the future values of the French Republic. And you have to understand, this was a huge political and symbolic moment. In his final weeks as president, François Mitterrand wasn't just honoring the Curies. He was using their legacy to champion the ideals of scientific progress and selfless dedication for the entire nation. Please remember to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell, share and like our videos. The information in the videos compiled from open sources. Thank you. And at the absolute heart of it all were these two coffins. Just look at them, resting there on biers, the focal point of this grand state affair. The ceremony was the final stop on a journey that really began with the discovery of radioactivity itself, a journey that literally cost them their health. But here's the thing. To really get the full weight of this moment, we have to go back, way back to a humble grave and a very serious scientific question that had to be answered before this grand ceremony could even happen. So yeah, before all the state honors and the grand spectacle, there was this very private history and a scientific drama that was swirling around the very remains of Marie and Pierre Curie. Okay, so check out the incredible contrast on this slide. Their original burials in the Sceaux cemetery, they were quiet, simple, private rites. Marie was laid to rest in just a plain oak coffin in what was described as an inexpensive part of the little village cemetery. To go from that kind of quiet intimacy to this massive national spectacle, well, it shows you just how much their legacy had grown, transforming from a personal memory into a national legend. And this was the central problem, the one question that could have stopped the whole thing in its tracks. Decades after their deaths, there was a very real concern. The Curies had dedicated their lives to handling radioactive elements, and that work had definitely left its mark. Their lab notebooks are still so radioactive today, they have to be kept in lead-lined boxes. So, what about their bodies? To find the answer, they had to carry out this incredibly careful scientific exhumation. And here, we can actually see that process in action. What you're looking at are fragments of Pierre Curie's actual wooden coffin being analyzed by France's Radiation Protection Agency. It was a true forensic investigation, this perfect blend of history and nuclear physics. So after an hour and a half of meticulous work, they're monitoring the air, taking all these samples, the scientists got their answer. And yes, they did find traces of radium-226, the very element the Curies discovered. But the levels were low, the transfer was safe, the scientific mystery was solved, and that paved the way for the ceremony to finally go ahead. Okay, so with the science settled, we can now turn to the real heart of the story, the why. Because with the physical risk gone, the symbolic meaning of April 20th, 1995 could take center stage. And let me tell you, this ceremony resonated far beyond the world of science. It was a profound statement on culture, on politics, and especially on feminism. 1. Just look at this number. This number is everything. Marie Curie was the very first woman to be honored in the Pantheon for her own achievements. The first. After centuries of this mausoleum being dedicated to France's great men, this was a seismic shift. And just to be perfectly clear, there was another woman already there, Sophie Berthelot. But, and this is a huge but, she was only interred because her family didn't want her to be separated from her famous chemist husband. Marie Curie, on the other hand, entered based on her own scientific genius, her own monumental contributions to the world. That distinction is absolutely critical. And President Mitterrand himself made sure that nobody missed the point. With these words, he officially acknowledged her singular greatness, and in doing so, he began to correct a long-standing historical injustice against women in French history. And her merits, They were just undeniable, right? You've got one Nobel Prize in physics, then another one in chemistry, which makes her the only person ever to win in two different scientific fields. She founded the world-renowned Radium Institute. Her entire life was a testament to the kind of dedication that Mitterrand wanted to celebrate. She earned her place in that hallowed hall many, many times over.
So with all that context, let's return to that day in 1995. Let's go back to the final solemn moments of the ceremony and think about the enduring legacy that they represent.
As the ceremony reached its conclusion, the great doors of the Panthéon swung open. After a final, crisp military salute, soldiers from the French Republican Guard hoisted the two coffins onto their shoulders and began the final solemn march. They carried them with this profound dignity into the dark but sacred aisles of the monument, a final farewell as they entered eternity. And their legacy really is eternal. Of course, they're the pioneers of radioactivity, but there's so much more than that. They're symbols of pure scientific curiosity, of advancing physics, chemistry, and medicine. For Marie, she became a global icon for women in science. And their whole story is also a powerful reminder that with great knowledge comes great responsibility.
Which really leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? Was the pantheonization of the Curies just a tribute to a brilliant past, or was it meant as a lasting challenge for the future, a call to keep pushing the boundaries of both science and equality? You know, perhaps the true power of that day is that it was both.